All right, welcome into another episode of Everything is Logistics, a podcast for the thinkers in freight. We are proudly presented by SPI Logistics, and I am your host, Blythe Milligan. And we are joined by Charley Dehoney. He is the founder or co-founder and CEO of Upwell. And we're going to be talking about scaling the messy middle, how Upwell is automating the back office grind. And so this is a conversation I've been wanting to have for a while because I come from the asset-based 3PL world and I understand the chaos it created when billing didn't align with our TMS and other operational footnotes that happened throughout the company history, which it eventually went out of business, so unfortunately.
I guess, Blythe, I should have known that you were the back office superhero and that you knew about this problem, because every organization has one person that cares disproportionately about the outcomes for the customer. They have all that tribal knowledge and the secrets built up over the years in their head about what it takes to invoice customer X versus customer Y. And what we found is that individual is oftentimes like holding together the back office with a shoestring and bubble gum, and simply just off their own tribal knowledge and their own sort of like internal workflows that they've developed. And really, Upwell was born to leverage modern technology to get all of the systems and the softwares that a back office is using today, but get them talking to each other in a very accurate way so that teams can actually get the mileage out of the software that they're already paying for.
So what does, I guess, sort of, because you work primarily with enterprise shippers, what is sort of, I guess, the customer base of Upwell currently? Because you guys have been in operation for a little over a year now, I believe?
Yeah, so we're coming up on our second full year in the market. Okay. I launched the business as an idea here at Manifest just 3 years ago. I walked around the room with just an idea, no pitch deck, a loose commitment from a co-founder, and I was able to get about $1 million from angels and friends in the room, and that's really was the impetus of Upwell. But our customers we work with trucking companies and freight brokers to help them get paid faster. And we do that by really focusing on the delivery to cash process. So think about after the freight gets delivered, until that money hits the bank and the cash is applied, that's really the 7 work streams that we've used AI to automate.
And so when you're going into a business for the first time, what does it look like? Is it a chaotic mess, or it really varies from company to company?
Well, it really does vary from company to company, and a lot of times we look for indications on where this organization is at in their digital journey. So SPI is a great customer of ours. We met them very early in our progression, and at that time, James Lemon, their CFO, and the back office team with Eze and a lot of their developers had been putting a lot of energy into automation around accounts payable, around looking at documents after they've come through Triumph Audit or HubTran, trying to streamline that process to get those documents out to the client or the shipper with the right invoice and the right paperwork so that they can get paid faster. And so oftentimes, I would say that there's some order that's already been brought to the process, but we're looking at a chaotic piece of it. So inside of that process, once the freight gets delivered, you've got to get the documents back in from the carriers. You've got to get those documents tagged and indexed and categorized. You got to get them validated and matched for the accounts payable and the accounts receivable. So then once you have that match and you have the right documents, then you've got to get them where they need to go in the TMS, make sure that those documents show up on the customer's invoice packet, whatever the documents they require. You need to get that attached. And then we work with a lot of companies to help them streamline and automate the process of getting the invoices out the door. So what we find is TMS is oftentimes miss invoice emails, and then the shipper never receives the invoice email. So we can push them out via email with a lot of visibility and understanding of when the customer is engaging with those emails. We can put them into the major accounts payable portals. So companies like Cass, US Bank, E2 Open, Uber Freight, we can automate the submission, or we could go in there and build the load using AI technology to trigger that invoice in those portals. The real value, I say, when we're working with those portals, Blythe, is we could go in, and what we do with SPI is we could go into all of their portals across their entire universe of payers and bring those statuses back and show them the dispositions right in a very easy, digestible way. So if they have an invoice that gets rejected on day 0 by Uber Freight or E2 Open, they could go in and correct that invoice on day 1 as opposed to waiting for it to go past terms and then correcting it later. So I guess a lot of times it feels chaotic, but most organizations have some sort of plan put in place that they're trying to meet an objective, and we can come in and put in 1 or 2 pieces of our technology to help them get further along in that goal.
Because I think I was listening to one of your interviews that you've done previously, and you were talking about how you've already gone in and labeled some of the data for these companies. And because I think I guess to back it up, whenever somebody wants to implement AI, they don't realize sort of the data hygiene that they have to take on at a company level.
That's right.
But I believe that your company is doing that for them for the accounting side of things. Is that
That's
accurate?
exactly right. Yeah. So what you see is that between the TMS and the accounting software, there's very infrequently there's a one-to-one connection. So there's data leaking out, and there's data coming in that shouldn't be there. So like the first order of business when you work with Upwell is you're going to put in your TMS credentials, your accounting software credentials, and then your credentials across all that universe of the AP portals. And then we're going to start to bring that data in, and we're going to immediately go to work on flagging discrepancies, inconsistencies, and really make sure that everybody's looking at very clean information. And only then can we start to automate the process of doing those manual approvals and moving those to automation and getting the invoices out the door without a human touching them. And so really what Upwell is built on top of is a very robust natural language processing, AI enabled shipper rules engine. So a user in Upwell can go in and just type in, this shipper is going to require a bill of lading, and then whatever other things that they need on their invoice packet, you could just type it in normal text, and then it'll run through the AI, and then you'll get an audit-ready prompt that comes back that we can save on that customer's record. And every time a document comes in, the email that's associated with that customer's order, we can validate those documents and make sure that they're going to be approvable if that document gets over to the shipper. So the whole idea is that when I was working early in my career as a freight broker and then later on helping large enterprise logistics companies access new technologies, I saw that there was no place for these rules to live in the modern technology stack. So a TMS may have some very simplistic, this shipper requires a bill of lading, this shipper requires a lumper receipt, but they don't necessarily have the AI intelligence to know, is this the right bill of lading? Does this bill of lading have a signature on it, or is it not going to be an acceptable POD? But what I saw, the big companies, the steamship lines, the railroads, the large trucking companies, they were all struggling invoicing the shipper, and 25% of their bills in many cases get rejected on the first pass. That increases your back office costs on your side. It increases the back office costs on your shipper side or on the auditor side. Nobody really likes to deal with these disputes. And I think there's a sort of a understanding in logistics, or maybe a misconception in logistics, that these auditors want to hold on to the money because they're making extra money and they want to make it hard to pay. I found that not to be true. I've spent a lot of time with the executive levels at the biggest payers out there, the CAS, the US banks of the world. Those disputes make their life difficult too, and it makes the carrier's life difficult. It ultimately bothers the shipper, who's the paying customer for all of us. So if we can ultimately reduce those errors and cut off that issue before it ever gets over to the auditor, then we can eliminate all that waste that happens on the other side of the river.
Yeah, because I know from people talking about exception management, and that's where the beauty of AI comes into play. But you're actually helping to avoid people even having to do the exception management. And then the paydays or days to pay increases because you're dealing with less of the BS that almost.
Bingo.
We're in Vegas, so I guess you can't curse here.
Yeah, so we can leave them out here, but that's exactly right. I think when you really start to think about the future state of logistics, handshake sort of connections between systems of record, between the shipper's TMS and a system of record like Upwell, where we can validate and verify all of these costs and all of these identifiers all the way upstream. It's really going to take that level of trust in a platform like ours to be able to enable real-time payments and ultimately unlock the money that's sitting in the supply chain all the time that these companies so desperately need for the liquidity to access the capital.
Exactly. 30, 60, 90 days, that adds up, especially for smaller players, maybe non-enterprise companies that need that cash a lot sooner than
You're exactly
90
right.
days.
And I think when you look at large enterprise players, most of their accounts receivable is tied up with other large enterprise companies. And so a big part of our mission is we want to help those companies operate off the same sheet of music and make sure that everybody's looking at the same information. And so far it's been super well received by not just the freight brokers and the trucking companies, but also their shipping partners and the auditors as well. The auditors start to see a dramatic reduction in exceptions when Upwell starts to take over the submission of those invoices.
Now, do shippers play a role with using Upwell, or is it mainly on the LSPs?
So right now we're wholly focused on solving the problem for logistics service providers. There's a number of great technologies over there that are helping shippers audit and pay their trucking invoices. Eventually, we think that we could also be in that space. But for today, really solving the problem upstream and making sure that those bad invoices never get out. That's really what we see as our defensible position as we go here. So we've got 80-something thousand unique shippers in our platform right now that we manage payments going into. Or coming out of and invoices going into. And so with those 86,000 shippers, we've got a massive set of data around what those shipper rules are, what those requirements are. So as we continue to scale our business, we're starting to see a network effect where a company like Giltner Transportation can come on board and port in their enterprise customer base from their carrier, from their asset-based carrier, as well as their logistics business. And they could already see 75 or 80% of their clients are associatable inside of Upwell because we've already invoiced them for another player.
Oh, interesting. And so that's, I guess it makes the sale a lot easier because it decreases onboarding time.
I think right now the ease of the sale is in this market. We've seen a slight rebound in pricing over the last 90 days. I'm excited about what we're seeing, but really after 3 years of being bludgeoned, CFOs have a lot of pressure to do more with less. And nobody has extra headcount built into their growth ramp. So when we talk to CFOs and we hear like a James Lemon, he's got a big growth target on his head every year. That business is going to grow. That's what SPI does. And James is looking for efficiencies in the back office whereby he can maybe double the business over the next 4 years without having to double his headcount back there. And so we really want to be a part of that, help people do more with less, get paid faster, grow their business without growing their headcount.
So what happens to, I guess, an accounting department? What does that look like if they're using Upwell? Do they need, I mean, obviously they don't need to hire as many, right, and they can be a lean team, but what do the people focus on now that they kind of have some of their time back?
Well, really, the first thing that we do is we come in and we take over all those messy invoice submissions. So if you've got any custom invoicing that you're doing, if you're changing a subject line on the email to send it out, or you're emailing invoices to yourself so you could download PDFs and save them into another format, we handle all of those edge cases and use cases. So we take over all kind of like manual billing stuff first. And then once we get that off their plate, that includes like those portal uploads and self-billing in platforms like E2Open. But once we take that work over, immediately teams have 8 to 10 hours a day back in their team, spread out across the individuals. So we start to see folks immediately jump into more exception management. One of the beautiful things about finding those exceptions and having an invoice rejected inside of Upwell is you get the reason code immediately, and then you can go right to that shipper profile and build a prompt into there to make sure that the AI is going to catch that one next time. So they'll spend more time going further upstream in the process and start to optimize some of the contributing factors to where these errors are coming from. And then, really once their shipper rules are built out, it goes to a no-touch billing where the carrier invoice can come in and we can take the documents, we can do that validation for the accounts payable, mark it okay to pay. We can do the validation for the receivable, mark it okay to bill. We can generate that invoice packet and we can send it all out without a human touch. So we spend a lot of times with companies in the first 60 days really trying to get them up to 75, 85% no-touch billing where their invoices are just going out the door. And then they have a lot of time to manage the exceptions that are coming in. We see people that start to refine their collections process, start to spend more time on the phone with the shippers because we can take away all the automated past due reminders, all the statements, things that people are doing manually now. We put that behind them, and then we give them clean status data so we can show them what's past due, what's been rejected, and they can spend their time truly like exception management focused. So we have a lot of teams right now, and one of the trends that I'm seeing, and I'd be curious if you guys are hearing the same thing, is we have CFOs come to us routinely and say, we had 2 people leave last month and we do not want to replace them. So maybe they're aging out of the workforce, maybe they're moving on to another role, but we're seeing teams get leaner without necessarily moving those people on. Like there's naturally turnover in the back office. So I think helping folks manage through that is important. One of our very first customers, Able Transportation in Omaha, their accounting leader left after about 3 months of implementing Upwell, and they never replaced him. They just promoted the assistant, and she's taken over, and she's done a great job managing.
Able Transport?
Yeah.
That's the interview I was listening to. So
cool.
I love Liz Wayne. So that's, listening to that conversation was really insightful.
I'm not shocked that you and Liz are friends. High energy women in logistics generally find each other. But Liz is like, that's one example. We've got examples of folks, all across our book of business where there's generally that one back office superhero, that person that I'm telling you about. They're probably the Blythe that when you were younger in logistics, like the person who really gave a shit and wanted to move up in their career and get ahead. We're seeing those people start to take on safety and compliance operations inside of an asset base, or they'll start to diversify the use of their time and make a larger impact in the organization, running lean.
Oh, that's super interesting. Because I was wondering, like, what do these people do with all of this time that they get back? And are we, this is maybe not relevant to Upwell, but maybe it could be, because with AI, that's sort of the common thing, is that you're going to get so much time back in order to invest into the things that require more brain power. But what happens to the people who are using all of their brain power on like these new tasks, and do they get burnt out faster? But it sounds like there's other opportunities that they could be exploring, which kind of allows them to spread their wings a little bit rather than be
I think
pigeonholed.
there's two types of people, right, in logistics and in the back office. And I remember my days as an operator. I was an early customer for HubTran, now Triumph Audit, when the document automation really started to take shape about 10 years ago. And I remember showing it to my team of 3 gals, and one of them just saying, "Charlie, what are we going to do from now on?" And I really didn't have an answer for it. And it was only a matter of weeks before one of them was like, we just moved her on because we had nothing left for her to do. I don't see that as much these days. I think we're in a cycle where teams have really leaned out, like any extra hire, any extra capacity, that's already been kind of like dealt with in the back office, or they've moved on and haven't been replaced, or they've made the cuts proactively. But we don't see this, sort of huge push to internally eradicate like a big group. We have had, in a lot of instances, where these portal uploads and the status retrievals are being done by a nearshore team, like overseas or in South America. And oftentimes we do come in and we can replace those people like pretty readily, just because we have these turnkey integrations. And there's truly, if that's your only job, there's truly nothing for that person to continue to do.
So how are you, I guess, differentiating between, I guess, AI and automation? Because AI is the term that's if you drink every time you hear that phrase at this conference, you're going to be on your ass in 12 hours.
Correct. In 2 hours, for sure. But, so I look at it this way: I was not born the tech guy. I grew up as the freight guy. And when this AI wave started coming, I saw these big companies clamoring to find ways to bring it in. And I thought to myself, I'm not going to make the next ChatGPT or Anthropic, but I can certainly bring that AI into the industry to automate the processes that people are doing today. And so 3 years ago, when I was walking around this conference, I was telling people, guys, let's face it, 10 years from now, humans aren't going to be doing accounting in North America in logistics. And now 3 years in, 7 years left on that horizon, it's moving faster than I thought. So I look at the way we solve problems is we use integrations and AI to provide automation to remove humans from the work streams. So we couldn't automate if we didn't have the AI to make the decisions, and then also continue to build. And if we didn't have the integrations, we couldn't take the next step in the process.
So what is, I guess, when you are getting into onboarding a company, realistically, how long does it take to onboard a new company for them to be up and running and their accounting team to be fully using Upwell?
So we have really two types of customers. We have a sort of an end-to-end customer that wants to come in and hook up their TMS to their accounting software and all their freight out and pay portals, and they're looking for like a controller in a box. They want high-level analytics on who's doing the work, what's not getting done, and what's sort of not working. And those people can come in and if it's one of our 7 TMS partners we have a native integration with, they can be up and running inside of a week and a half. They'll have most of the work stream like mapped, and I would say generally within one cash cycle, within 30 days, they'll have hit their stride. They'll start to see progress across all of those 7 work streams. Then we've got larger enterprise companies like the Warners of the world that'll walk in, or Arrive Logistics, and they'll say, "Hey, all this stuff's pretty interesting. We've already got a document solution that we're happy with now. That's not a priority today. Cash application over here, we've got that figured out. We're really interested in this custom invoicing module that you have, because we've got 13 people over there that are doing print and mail format changes and uploads to portals." So once a company identifies like what they'd like to pick off the menu a la carte, then we can generally get in there and get that thing deployed, whether it's custom invoicing or portal uploads. Like that is same day turnkey, get it on and get up and running. So we had a lot of signatures at the end of December, a couple like even in December 31st, that have already gotten in and translated like all of their portal upload volume. And RE Garrison in Alabama signed with us December 31st, and in January processed 6,500 invoices that were manually touched by a human before. Arrive Logistics, within 3 months of going live, went from 42,000 manual touch points or invoices that required touch after they were generated, and we were able to reduce that by 96% within 3 months. So there's a real kind of quick and easy kind of turn-on process where the sort of obvious painful stuff goes away, and then there's some fine-tuning and some refinement where, no, this is billing. nobody's just going to come and just throw it all at us, right? We have very, very careful processes because we're dealing with very careful people.
I was going to say there might be some pushback from some of the people. This is the way we've always done it. We're not going to change it. How do you kind of, I guess, massage those situations?
Well, first off, I married a strong woman, and I had a strong mother, so I'm good at being put in my place. So it's very easy for me to understand where these people are coming from because when my wife and I were bootstrapping our first brokerage after I left Worldwide Express in my late 20s, she was the one that showed me this problem. And she was the one that said, hey, this is really what the root cause of these issues are, is you're missing paperwork, you're missing identifiers, so stop doing the billing, dummy. You're not good at it. Let somebody else do it. So I can definitely relate and empathize with those people, and it's something I really try to coach our team on very hard. The other thing is we brought like industry pros. You know, Ann Holtzman, who runs our implementations, came from Banyan Technologies and Parade. So she's got 2 decades of holding people's hands and migrating people in freight tech. Chris Gemery, who runs our customer success, and his beautiful wife, Alicia, who is our enterprise account manager. They cut their teeth at Echo back in the day. So they know what a freight mare feels like, and they know how deathly problems can be. So we really just try to meet the people where they are, knowing that there is going to be somebody in the back office that's saying, hey, you can't do that. No, I don't want to hand this one over. So we also have guardrails. A lot of people don't want to let the AI just run wild, and that's fine. So if you want to review all of your invoices and click OK like you used to in the TMS before they go out, you can do that for 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 10 weeks, however long you want to. We make it a little easier to bulk manage those workflows, but if you really want to put human eyes on your bills before they go out, you can. You're just going to have a lot more help on the front end.
Any technology that you're excited to see at Manifest?
All of it. So I'm really interested, I think, with so much progress being made on the agentic side of things, we're kind of in a different place where we're really a system of record. We're kind of pioneering a category that wasn't really there before in order to cash for logistics. So between our payment visibility product and our order to cash platform, I'm really looking at what's on the horizon that somebody else is building that could plug into our platform and get our customers the outcomes that they're looking for. So we're really interested in talking to voice partners, natural language email processing partners, folks that can facilitate the conversation on behalf of our customers, because those are areas where there's a lot of really smart people bringing a lot of fresh perspective from outside of the space, and we'd love to kind of provide them a platform to be able to plug into and access customers through our platform.
Anything else that the audience should know that we haven't already talked about?
I think the biggest thing that I would like people to know is there is cash in your business that's not in your business today. Meaning it's sitting in your customers' accounts, and if it was in your account, your CFO or your president of your company would have a lot more confidence to say yes to your new hire. They would have a lot more confidence to say yes to the new technology platform that you see out here at Manifest that you want to try out. They'll say yes to upgrading the office or having an offsite. So I've been through this, and as a founder, or as a CEO of a logistics company previously, I saw the advantages of taking $1.2 million in operating capital that was spread out in all these other people's accounts and having it in my account. And so that's really what we're trying to bring, is like the high blood pressure of our industry, the silent killer, is this money that's sitting out there, an exception that your customer hasn't even approved for payment yet. So if you're using AI to get that stuff unstuck before it ever gets stuck, you're going to be better off.
Well said. You just crushed it. Great job. Thank you, Charlie.
Thanks, Blythe.